Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to be looking at a demo in Salesforce of a custom tool that we call Meeting Tracker. Before we begin, though, I just want to acknowledge that the world is a pretty crazy place to live in these days. COVID-19 has certainly had a large impact on all of our lives. For those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to work from home right now, it's certainly a different experience than what we might be used to being able to have, everyday office life. My initial thoughts when this happened were that I would actually have a lot of extra free time. I no longer have a commute into work as well as home, so that saves me at least an hour a day on the road right there. But what I forgot to factor into that equation was the non-existent childcare that's occurring due to the coronavirus. As I'm sure many of you can attest, having a toddler constantly wanting to play with your laptop while you're working can be somewhat of a challenge. I think my 2-year-old daughter may have actually sent more emails this week on my laptop than I did. So apologies if you're one of the lucky recipients. I promise my grammar is at least marginally better than what you have received. But anyhow, it's a new week, so let's get back to business. And the topic of today is Salesforce and a tool called Meeting Tracker. So my name is Zach Bodine, and I'm the leader of the CRM practice at XTIVIA. XTIVIA, if you don't know, is a leading innovation consulting firm that builds tailored technology solutions for over 1,000 clients across North America. And joining me today is Mike Ehrenhersterbaumer. Mike is a sales account executive at XTIVIA, and he has never seen the tool that we'll be presenting today. So he's going to be asking lots of questions, just like you might be when you're watching this webinar, and will hopefully help make this a more enriching experience for all of us. So as you can see on our cover slide here, we're talking about improving the customer retention experience in Salesforce with a tool called Meeting Tracker. So a little bit about XTIVIA. We've been around for a long time, since 1992. We have over 300 employees working all across North America, and we have a lot of different business lines. So not only are we doing Salesforce and CRM products, we also do cloud digital experience, mobile, enterprise information management, business data warehouse, and really any data management solutions. So getting back to our topic of the day, customer retention and Meeting Tracker, first I want to kind of set this up and explain what the focus of Meeting Tracker is. So Mike, you're in sales, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so when we're in sales, we're typically talking about two different types of like sales functions. And you're either participating in a role as an account executive, where you're focusing on closing new accounts, building relationships with new accounts, or an account manager role where you could just be focusing on existing accounts. Mike, where do you fit in this model?
So Zach, thanks for asking and thanks for having me. I would say I'm really kind of one of, which I'm sure there's many out there, a hybrid, right? So my focus is not only bringing on new customers to our portfolio, but ensuring that our existing customers are happy with our offerings, that they're in a good place, and that there's not more that we can't be doing to, help them today. So where I fit on there is right smack dab in the middle.
Okay. All right. Which is not uncharacteristic of a lot of businesses, right? So very, very large, 5,000, 4,000 employee companies could have set account executive versus account manager roles. Medium-sized businesses with, say, 100 to 300 employees could be having one sales rep who covers both the new accounts as well as the existing accounts. And it sounds like that's where you are, right, Mike?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So from your experience in meeting with customers, Mike, can you relate to some of these typical customer management processes that we see on the right hand of the screen? And I'll just go ahead and run through them, and then you can tell me, if it's something that you've seen in the industry. So would you say that when it comes to customers who spend the most, and ask the most, get the most attention? Is that something, when you meet with some of our clients, is that something that you see happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some cases it certainly can. Maybe not all the time, but what's the best way to put this? I would say just kind of it's natural in a lot of ways that the customers who are spending the most, who are calling all the time, emailing all the time, it's just natural for them to get the most attention, right? Now,
Yeah.
do have smaller customers sometimes that they're just as I don't want to use the word needy, but they need more assistance just as much as the larger accounts maybe do, right? So to me, one of the things that I struggle with the most, and maybe that goes into all three of these points, is properly managing my time, right, and ensuring that our current customers plus my prospects, that I'm dedicating the right amount of time and resources to ensuring a successful journey and a successful partnership with our organization.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So companies, maybe if they are smaller, and they're not giving you as much business right now, but they are still a client, they could potentially, in some situations, get less attention, which could lead out to, you as a seller or any customer losing out on future business when those companies want to grow or looking for the right partner. So these are some things I think, to echo what you're saying, Mike, that I encounter when I'm working with some of our clients. And then
Sure.
lastly, companies, if they don't have proper procedures or or systems in place, they can really struggle to scale. So if you have a company that's, only got 20 customers, and then they decide that, they're going to grow because everyone's trying to grow, and they get, down the road a couple years later, they now have 100 customers. Well, they might struggle with offering that same level of support to all of their customers when their organization is managing 100 clients versus when they're managing 20. And so, and vice versa, this could even grow up to be 200 clients, 300 clients, etc. And so it just kind of, there needs to be some sort of process in place to help these account managers manage their customers.
No, and that makes sense, right? And I think the big part of it is having some type of process in place, especially like in a role such as our team is, where they are in more of that hybrid model. When you're in the hybrid model, you're going to have more accounts naturally that you are owning, that you are managing, right? And like I myself, I have kind of a rule that I follow, and it's the view that I have in our Salesforce called 90 day, right? So if a client hasn't been touched in 90 days, that's an issue, right? So I need to ensure that I'm reaching out to those clients at least once a quarter. And the way I do it is I try to schedule follow-up, schedule tasks inside of Salesforce to ensure that I always am. I always know that that's coming. But you know how life is, right? Especially now, I got a little one here too that can eat a lot of my time, and I may have a task on my board that says, "Hey, I got to follow up with customer ABC," but time may get away from you, right? Maybe that's a personal thing. Maybe that is one of those larger customers that you're talking about that maybe needs more time right then and then, more attention right there and then. And that task can fall off the board, right? So if there were something in place that could help me better manage that, it would just make me better and more efficient in my job.
Great. I think that's what we're going to be able to review here today, Mike. So when we're talking about improving customer retention, there's really three key bullets that I want to point out. So whenever management is having a focus of saying we want to do better of retaining our customers, or making sure that we're properly giving attention to all of our customers, they need to have very easy to follow, clear objectives that they give to their account management teams. Secondly, they need to ensure that the team members or the account managers are able to track those objectives in a system or application. And so if there is no tracking mechanism, then it's really hard to then hold them accountable, which is the third bullet, that they need to hold account managers accountable for achieving those objectives. So very easy, very clear. If you follow those three guidelines, then you're going to be successful. And so today we have an example, and I'm going to be walking you through in the demo here in just a second, how to do this in Salesforce. And so, as you can see, all account managers, today's example is there's a company ABC, and they decided that for the current fiscal year 2020, they want all of their account managers to conduct 3 meetings per year with every one of their clients. And so these meetings include a new products presentation, an annual client review meeting, and then a personal customer engagement event. And they want to ensure that all 3 of those have been completed for every single client for the current year. And they want a really simple, easy way to track this. So that's what we're going to show today. So now let me go ahead and jump into Salesforce. Okay, so we're in Salesforce, and I've actually already built this tool, but I'm going to expound upon it and then show you how you can build it as well. So just so you know, Mike is an account manager or account executive, and I'm bringing him into this call because I know this is something that he would find valuable for himself, but also, Mike is looking at this as a high level, but there's some of you that could be on this call that are system admins or developers and would want to be able to deliver this solution to your companies. So I really want that. This is important for both people, sales managers, account managers, as well as system admins and developers. So this is just as critical for one as the other. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that as we walk through this tool. So if I'm going to go ahead and click on the Accounts tab in Salesforce, this is a tool that we've created called 2020 Customer Meeting Tracker. And so what I'm looking here is a list of all of the customer accounts in our Salesforce environment, the internal account owner or account manager who's managing that account, and then we have our 3 meeting objectives. So we have our customer appreciation event, our annual account review, and then our third one was our new products presentation, and that's not displayed here. So Mike, what I'm showing you is if I'm looking at Big Mike's Bikes, which is a customer, and Harry is the account manager, what is the status of his 2020 meeting in terms of scheduling or holding that customer appreciation event? And what I can see here is he has scheduled his customer appreciation event, and he has not scheduled his annual account review. Does this make sense to you, Mike? Is there any questions you have when you look at this?
Well, just looking at it, it's pretty straightforward, which is nice. I like the fact that each of those is really flagged, right? Red, yellow, and green, or I'm assuming you can make it any colors you wanted, because it calls it out right then and there. And it's great that it has the dates, but it can be trickier to look through the dates when you see that those colored flags are right there. You know exactly which ones are needed, which ones are required. I'm assuming, Zach, this is just using standard system views in Salesforce. So if I wanted to, filter it out further and say, okay, only show me the ones where I don't have it scheduled, or, where I do have it scheduled, I could easily filter that out even further.
Yeah, that's great. So you're right. This is just a custom list view that we've created. And with a little bit of admin and development, we're able to deliver this solution. But we're just looking at a list view, a custom list view on accounts. So you're right, Mike. In fact, if you wanted to, you can sort by any of these columns. And so when I sort, it shows me all of my upcoming scheduled customer appreciation events for 2020, the ones that have been completed, and then the ones that I have not yet scheduled for the current fiscal year. So you can see Anacott Steel, we have not scheduled a 2020 meeting, therefore it's not scheduled. And just to give the account manager context, it does show them the last time they did hold that meeting. So lots of times as an account manager, you might not want to have your annual customer appreciation event, within 3 months of it. It might be something where you always want to have it every 365 days or every early November. And so giving you the date that you most recently had it gives you good context when you're scheduling it. And so but you can sort by any of these columns. And then, of course, this can also be customized for the individual sales rep. So if I'm just looking at this, not for all of my account managers, but just for Mary Jane Watson, who's one of my account managers, she can come in here and then sort by any one of these columns and then see the status of the ones that she needs to give attention to. And can do this for any one of the meeting types.
Nice. Yeah, all looks straightforward.
So, Mike, how do you think this information is managed in Salesforce?
Well, ideally, it's just managed straight in the activities. I mean, that's what I'm used to doing, right? Like I said, unfortunately, I mean, the way I do it now is just scheduling tasks, and so it's just those reminders. But so I don't have an accounts list view based on tasks. I have to go straight to the task itself. So is this leveraging like the activities in Salesforce, or is this some type of custom separate object, or how does that work?
No, that's the beauty of this is leveraging activities and specifically events in Salesforce. So as an example, we have, I'm logged in as Mary Jane Watson. And actually, let me go back to our custom meeting tracker here. So we have Pied Piper here, and that's one of Mary Jane's accounts. And she has yet to schedule her annual account review. So if she wants to schedule that, she simply clicks on Pied Piper, goes down to the activity section on her Lightning page, clicks on New Event, and we have already provided her pre-selected subjects. So this is something when you're implementing this solution is you'll need to provide these predefined subjects in your Salesforce org, which you can do by managing the events object and simply adding additional subjects. So we have the annual account review, the customer appreciation event, and the new products presentation. We said she needed to schedule an annual account review, so she's going to do that, and she's going to schedule it for, let's go with June 16th. And an annual account review could be, a few hours long, so we'll go ahead and schedule that from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on June 16th. And this is being logged by Mary Jane, so we'll just make sure that she's the person that it's assigned to. And she can put in the contact at Pied Piper, who she's meeting with. That would make sense, but it's not necessary for this scenario. So she's got it scheduled for June 16th, and she can now go ahead and click Save. And so you can see under upcoming events or activity, it's scheduled there for June 16th, the annual account review. And so now this customer is Pied Piper. So now if I go back to the accounts meeting tracker and I'm looking at my list, I can see the first meeting on the list is Pied Piper. And now that meeting went from not scheduled to scheduled for 6/16/20.
So Zach, question about that, and that's great. Looks straightforward. It's good that it uses the out-of-the-box activities objects. Just because a tool like this, we want to make it, something that's going to make it easier on the team to manage their time and meet with their clients, not something that's more difficult. But I can tell you, like myself, and I'm sure that several other people in a similar role as I don't typically schedule my meetings / events, whatever you want to call them. I don't typically do that in Salesforce. I typically do that we're a Google shop, so I typically do that in Google Calendar. Used to be Outlook. It'd be the same way. Am I still able to do that, or if I schedule something in Google, am I going to have to come down here and manually update or change something? Because I wouldn't want to do that. That's just extra work.
No, that's really good. So Mike, the good news is as long as you are syncing those events with Salesforce and the event name in your Google Calendar contains this text, then when that event comes into Salesforce, it will still work and roll up onto the meeting tracker. So what your account management team will need to be cognizant of is when they're in Gmail and they're scheduling those meetings, the subject will need to contain annual account review, customer appreciation event, or new products presentation. And as long as the subject contains that, Then when it comes over and syncs to Salesforce, then it will update the meeting tracker accordingly.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to hear.
And that's a great question, because that's a common use case for a lot of businesses, is that they're using a Gmail or Outlook for Salesforce sync.
Yep.
Okay, so how does this work? So now that we understand what our end solution is here, I want to show you how you can do this yourself. So we mentioned back in our PowerPoint presentation that there were 3 meetings.
Hey, Zach, real quick,
Yeah.
before you jump into that, I guess I just want to make sure I'm clear. I guess since this is something that's built right into Salesforce, I could build a report based off of this and to look at it in a graphical view or further filter or leverage even dashboards if need be as well.
Yep. So Mike, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this 3rd field. I'm going to add it to this list view, and then I'm going to circle back to reports at the end, and then also show you how you can add that to a report.
Okay, great.
Yep. Great question. Okay, so let's go ahead and so we had 3 meeting types that our management team said that they wanted us to conduct with each client over the course of the year. One was the customer appreciation event, one was the annual account review, and the last one was the new products presentation. So you can see we're missing the new products presentation, and I'm going to show you how to add this. And if you understand how to add this new field and its corresponding graphic, then you're going to be able to build this and deliver this to your own team as well. So let's go ahead and go into Object Manager. So we go to Setup, Edit Object. And the first thing we need to do is create the date field called Last New Products Presentation. So under Object Manager, we're already on Account. I'm going to go to Fields and Relationships, and I'm going to create a new field, and it's going to be a date field. And we're going to call it Last New Products Presentation. And for now, we're just going to make it editable by everyone in your company. So we'll go ahead and next and save. So we have our date field created, and now we need to populate that date. So Salesforce doesn't let you easily, from within a field here, just create a roll-up of an event. However, there is a tool that's on the App Exchange that's called Rollup Helper. And so, you know, we're not affiliated with Rollup Helper at all. We use their technology in a lot of the development that we do, but you know, we just know that it's a really good product, and it's especially effective for admins because it gives you a lot of point-click functionality that's inclusive of a lot of development and architecture. So I want to populate that last new products presentation every time that I go to an account and I enter in a new event, and that new event is new products presentation, and I schedule that. I need that to roll up to my account meeting tracker and populate that new products presentation date field over here on the right. So I just added the date field. Now let me add it to the list view. So select fields to display. We have our last new products presentation right here. We'll go ahead and add that to our list and click Save. So as a quick example, if I'm on Ace Chemical and I don't have anything built via Rollup Helper, and I go to New Event and I select New Products Presentation, and I enter in a date of, say, 2 days from now, and I'm going to schedule it from noon to 1, and I go ahead and hit Save. That's scheduled. I go back to the accounts, and now you can see here it did not update this date, and if the date's not updated, then I can't leverage the graphic either. So I need to get this date to populate every time I schedule or complete an event in Salesforce. So that's what we're going to use Rollup Helper for, and I'm going to show you how to use that right now. So if I go over to my app icon in the top left, This is a package that you can install yourself if you go to the Salesforce App Exchange called Rollup Helper. And the best part about Rollup Helper is that the first 3 rollups they give you out of the box are completely free. So I've already used 2 of their rollups, one to create the last annual account review date and one to create the last customer appreciation event date. So they give you 3 of these free directly out of the box. Once you exceed 3, then you're forced to purchase it. But for our use case here, I can use this tool completely complimentary from Rollup Helper. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a 3rd rollup. So I come up here and I select new. It asks me which object does my field reside on, and it resides on the account object. The field label that I've created is called last new products presentation. And here it is. So I'm going to select that field. Okay, and now which object do I want to roll up from to populate this field? And the answer to that is the event. So I had to come here and find event. There's the event. And the account on the event is the related to what ID. So I want to select that as the relationship. And I want to take the maximum date value. So when I don't want to take the meeting that I completed last year. I want to take the meeting that I've scheduled for this year or that I've completed this year. So I want to select the maximum value. And I want to take the due date only. So that's the meeting completion date or schedule date in Salesforce. So I'm not finished yet. I still need to add a filter on my event to make sure I'm only rolling up specific events. So now I need to create a new filter. And my filter name is going to be new products presentation. And I can scroll down here and I want to filter this based upon the subject. And if I scroll down and it doesn't give me that as an option, there's an option here to show all because it just only shows you a certain subset unless you click show all. So I scroll down and I can find subject. Here it is. And if I know it's always going to be equal to, I can do equals. If I'm using Outlook to Salesforce or Gmail to Salesforce sync, then I can just do contains. For this, I'll just go ahead and do equals, and we'll do new products presentation. Mike, are you following me?
Yeah, it's all pretty straightforward so far.
Great. So now I'm going to save my Rollup Helper job. That's the only filter I needed. So I'm going to run this rollup anytime an event is created and the subject equals new products presentation. And now that I've saved it, I'm going to save one more time. And my rule is now active. And I can run it anytime you run a rollup in Salesforce. It might take an hour just to do all of the accounts that you've ever had events on. But then afterwards, once it's activated, it'll give you this lightning bolt. And then any account you make an update on, it'll automatically happen from the moment the event's created. So let's go ahead and test this now. So if I go ahead and I go to back to sales, and I go to my accounts object for my custom meeting tracker, I'm going to go to, here's my new products presentation, and I'm going to go to Ace Ventura Detective Agency as one of my accounts, and I'm going to create a new products presentation event. So here's my new event. I have my subject, new products presentation, and that event is set to take place on May 29th. And the account manager on this is Peter. So we'll go ahead and click save. So we have our new products presentation. Oh, now I already had one that I had scheduled on this, so let me go ahead and delete the July one because we just created the May 29th. And let me go back to, so it takes me back to Meeting Tracker, and here's the account, and here is the meeting that I just scheduled. So I'm now successfully getting the date to populate, but now I might want to add a graphic so I don't have to necessarily come in here and pay attention to the dates. If I'm an account manager, I'm moving quickly and I just want to know I need to focus on the yellows and the reds, then I can make this a lot simpler. Mike, let me ask you, when you're working with customers or you're working in Salesforce, do you think that like this graphic would be beneficial to you, or is it like overkill?
No, I mean, I think it's super useful. I could see how maybe some wouldn't find it as helpful just because of the way their mind works. But myself, when I see that big red flag there or the green flag, I know exactly which ones, I need to be working on, right? Instead of just seeing like right next to it a blank slate or the date and things like that. It really just calls it out, which allows me to quickly, much more quickly at a glance, see which ones I need to be working on and getting things on the books.
Okay, perfect. All right, so then you do think it'll hold some value. Then I'll go ahead and show you how to create it. And just, for these previous ones, I just did, an acronym. So this is Customer Appreciation Event. So I have this as CAE. This is Annual Account Review. So this is AAR. And then this is New Product Presentation. So my other graphic's going to be labeled NPP. Make sense? Okay.
Makes sense.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy the formula that I've created for AAR. And one thing to point out is when you're in, I'll just go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint real quick and point out a specific slide, is when you're adding these graphics to Salesforce, so I have the yellow scheduled, the green completed, the red not scheduled. I'm adding these to Salesforce as documents. With Lightning, you can actually leverage both documents or files to do this. And so if you want to know how to add graphics to Salesforce, here's a shortcut to an article that you can look for. You can also, Google saving graphics in Salesforce or go out to Trailhead, and this information is available there as well. And this is also showing you where Rollup Helper is in the App Exchange. So these graphics I created, I'm not going to show you how to do that piece, but this shows you how to use the graphics. But then this formula is basically looking at the date that we're populating and then letting you know which of the graphics it should display. So if you're looking at this, this is something that you can reference whenever you're building this yourself. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and put it directly into the new field that I'm going to be creating. So we'll go to Fields, New Field, and again, we're on the account object. This is going to be a formula field. So anytime you're wanting to create a graphic, it's a formula, and then it's going to be text. And this is going to be called NPP. So now I need to put in my formula, which I'm going to paste in here. And it gave me some of these little boxes, so let me delete those real quick. And again, this is something that's more geared for your admin or your developer, but this is what it takes to deliver the solution. So now that you have this formula in place, what you do need to do is, all you have to do is replace where it says date field with the date field that we just created. So I'm going to highlight date field and then insert my new field, which is last new products presentation, and insert that. So now I have my date field, and then I can just copy that and paste that over everywhere else. It says just the arbitrary date field.
Hey, Zach, as you're doing this, I guess from just a Salesforce perspective, I mean, this whole tool that you have built, it doesn't seem like you really need any code to make it work, any actual development to make it work. It seems like besides knowing this formula, it's all configuration, declarative, point and click, drag and drop. Is that safe to say?
That's correct. That's the benefit of using Rollup Helper, is because when I created that rollup, it actually did create an Apex class and an Apex trigger, which get created from Rollup Helper and embedded in your Salesforce environment. But I didn't need to be a developer to do that. I could just be an admin and I could do that, because I'm not writing those triggers at Apex. The tool is writing it for me.
Okay.
So I have my formula in place, and I'm going to go ahead and click next and then save. And now I'm going to go back to my meeting tracker, go ahead and refresh, and then I'm going to add my new column to my meeting tracker. So I'm going to select fields to display, find the NPP field we just created. There it is. And I can move that right in front of new products presentation and click save. So as you can see, it's working. Anytime I have not scheduled or completed an event in the current fiscal year, it shows not scheduled. If I do have one scheduled, it shows me the current fiscal year. And so, so I'm going to go ahead and, just as an example, I'm going to complete one more meeting. So we'll go to Blue Horseshoe. And I'm just going to say, I forgot to schedule the meeting. I know it took place, so I'm going to enter it retroactively. Here's my new product presentation, and it took place yesterday at 9 a.m. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. And so the nice thing about events in Salesforce, unlike tasks, is you don't need to make events, update them to move them to completed, because they're just like calendar events in your Outlook. Once that time has elapsed, the system just assumes that it was completed. So if you have an event on your calendar, then as soon as that time has transpired, it automatically moves the status from not started to completed. So if I go here to the accounts list view, and I go to the date of yesterday, which was May 4th, 2020, that's a historical date, therefore the status is completed, and the graphic is representative of that. So getting back again, this is the high-level custom meeting tracker for a list view if you're a manager and you want to see all the account managers and their accounts. But this view isn't necessarily as easy to manage as if you were accessing this information in a report. So that's what I'm going to get to next, Mike, per your question that you had earlier. So we've already created a report, and I've called it the AM Customer Meeting Tracker. And so when I first created this report, I only included our first two meeting types. So I'm going to really quickly go ahead and add those two additional meeting types, or that one additional rather, the new products presentation.
Hey, Zach, while you're doing this question, so what if like a client who uses Salesforce, I guess, has their system structured into account tiers, right? Maybe it's based on the annual spend or, size of whatever it might be, right? Various clients do utilize Salesforce and track various account tiers. Could this also be leveraged in that as well? If maybe based on their tier, you have to do more than 3 of these meetings or whatever it might be. But is that something that I would assume, since it's just built, configured, that if you are using an account tier, you could leverage that as well?
So yeah, great question. So we talked about customer retention, and that you want to make sure all your customers are getting the same level of attention, and that you're completing these meetings, and that you're tracking that these meetings are being completed. you know, and done so in a timely manner. This gives you, the account manager, that visibility, as well as your sales manager. But you're right, Mike. In the real world, you know, I think Salesforce even does this. You know, they put customers in buckets, and so, you know, depending on what your total spend is, or how many employees you have, they might put you in a certain tier. And so that's not uncommon for a lot of organizations. And then based upon the tier that you're in, they might want to definitely make sure that like their platinum customers are completing all of their meetings. Those are the highest priority. And then your gold, yes, that's important, but not as important as platinum. And then silver, also important, but maybe not as important as gold and platinum. So that is, or maybe that, you know, those get put under and assigned to a different account manager. So yes, great question. In fact, that is something that's already in here. And so when you're building a report like this, you can come in, and I'm grouping this by the account owner, but I can also group in conjunction with the account owner, I can group it by account tier. So if I add the account tier, it's a subgrouping. I'm going to go ahead and run the report again. And now I can see these are all of Harry's accounts. These are his platinum accounts, and I can sort by any of these columns. These are Harry's gold accounts and his silver accounts. And then if I scroll down, now I can see Mary Jane's platinum accounts, her gold accounts, her silver accounts. I come down, I can see Peter's, and so on and so forth. And really the great thing about this is you see all the time in organizations where a account manager, an account rep, goes to meet with their manager, and that meeting is spent with Peter giving the status update to his manager about the meetings that he has scheduled and that he's completed or that he hasn't. And then the manager asking Peter, well, you know, can you put that into a spreadsheet for me so I can see it and track it? And the entire meeting becomes, you know, the manager asking the sales rep to do all this busy work to give them information that they don't have access to. So this is meant to alleviate that, already provide the manager with this information up front so they can have it prior to meeting with their account manager. And then whenever they do meet, they can actually have more fruitful conversations about, okay, well, what are you going to be presenting to BIFCO? And, you know, what's your plan of attack there? And when you're meeting with the Brooklyn Dodgers, what's your customer appreciation event going to be? And so it completely changes the dynamic of the conversation. Mike, do you think that could be beneficial?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Okay. Again, for me, it all comes back this would help me better manage my time, right, and ensure that I'm getting in front of the clients when I need to be, as often as I need to be, to ensure a successful partnership. Straightforward and simple. That's what it is, and this definitely would be of assistance.
Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Just coming back to our beginning slide, what we've reviewed today is how companies can improve their customer retention, which is especially critical today with everything that's going on with COVID-19. You know, it can be difficult right now to drum up new business. You know, companies are uncertain of what their budgets and their spend are, but one thing that we can all do is look after our existing customers and do everything to make sure we're giving them the proper service, attention that they need to make them successful as well. And so that's really what this tool is designed to do, the custom meeting tracker. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Mike, thank you for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
Yep, thank you. And until next time, everyone, stay safe and have a great day.